What's going on, people? Welcome back to the United Stand. My name is Maud, and look, it's another 2 p.m. show. It's a Wednesday. How is everyone doing? It's international break. Finally, we're gonna get some Premier League football this weekend. But I want to know, how are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? Have you enjoyed the international break? I know England, they always just smash everyone. But did they win 5-0 again the other day? It's just normal. Another day for England, really. Just absolutely dominating teams. But how are you guys doing? And like I said, are you ready for Premier League football? Because today we're going to be talking about the Liverpool game, but also some injury returns, which is what we love to hear. Some players that have been out, and we're going to discuss their return to this team, and also what is that impact going to be on, first of all, the Liverpool game and going forward. What would be the starting lineup when we have all of our players fit? I mean, if someone could let me know, actually, when was the last time United just had everyone fit? Like when did we just have a complete full starting lineup plus subs? There was no long-term injuries. I feel like we've just always had 1, 2, 3 players that have just always been out. But finally, we might be back to a full Man United fully fit squad, which I don't remember. But like I said, thank you guys for tuning in. And look, there's a couple more things I want to discuss, actually. We're going to talk about the next games after the Liverpool game, the Brighton game, the Forest game, and Spurs, which, I mean, Spurs, they gave us some difficult games last season, let's be honest. The final, I know we don't want to talk about it, but the final was a very difficult game, but also, just in the league, I think they beat us 4 times last season. So, let's talk a little bit about those next 4 games coming up, but also, I kind of want to just touch on a few things that have been going on this week. Casemiro, Mainoo, Ugarte, a few other players, and obviously Amorim and Sir Jim, the comments that have come out about that. So I want you guys to stay very interactive. Send in your super chats. Any other topics that have been going on throughout the week or that have come out today, put them in the super chats and let's discuss them. Let's have an open conversation. And yeah, let's talk about football. So the first thing that I want to talk about are the injury updates. So there's one main player that I want to touch on, to be fair. Well, there's 2 actually, but the first player that I want to touch on is Mazraoui. Now, Mazraoui is set to return back to the Manchester United team for the Liverpool game. Now, that is a big addition, because in my opinion, look, Mazraoui is one of our best signings in the last few years. And the reason why I say that is, when you look at how much he costs compared to the output that he's given us, we haven't really seen that kind of return in a very long time. I mean, Mazraoui was less than 20 million. He's about 15 million pounds, euros, whatever it was, and he is a starter for us. I mean, how many times can you say, yeah, United just went out and spent 50 million pounds on a player and he starts? That is rare. That is very, very rare. We've been able to do that. I don't know how we managed to do it. Maybe it's because we did a little deal with De Ligt and Bayern and Mazraoui, kind of got them all together. But in my opinion, Mazraoui, as a player, as somebody who puts in the work, as a versatile player, someone who can play both sides. He can play as a wing back, as a right or left sided centre back. I think he's done a lot. He's done a lot for United over the last season or so. So to see him come back into the team, I think he went out in the Chelsea game. To see him come back into this team, it opens up conversations as to who actually should start. Because in my opinion, there's no problem with Mazraoui starting. I have no issue at all if Mazraoui was to be our starting, let's just say, right-sided centre-back. However, there is still open conversations, like I said before, when everyone's fit. When everyone is fit, and that's including Martinez, because we're going to touch on Martinez in a second. When everyone is fit, does Mazraoui start? Does Mazraoui get into this team? Or does he start? He will obviously get into the team. He will play a lot of football. But is he a starter when everyone is fit? It's including Lenny Yoro, including Martinez, including Luke Shaw, including obviously De Ligt and Maguire. Does Mazraoui start in a fully fit Manchester United team? Let me know. Let me know in the chat right now. Is he someone that you would want to see start? In my opinion, I'm going to try and I'm not going to try and, sit on the edge with this one. In a fully fit Man United team, my back 3 would be De Ligt as a central centre-back. It will be I want to say Martinez. I really want to say Martinez, but I have to see him play a few games first because I've not seen him play in a while. And for me, what I always say, look, if there's ever a long-term injury, I have to see them play a little bit just so I know he's still got it in him. Just so I know he's still got that aggression in him. He's still got that tenacity, also his passing range. He can still, be able to move the ball quickly and break the lines with his passing. I still need to see that a little bit after he comes back from injury. That's the only reason why I'm not willing right now to put Martinez in the team straight away. But I will say Lenny Yoro is definitely a player that I'd say is in my starting back three. And it might actually be Mazraoui on the right as well. That's my back three. Lenny Yoro, when everyone's fit, Lenny Yoro on the left, De Ligt in the middle, and Mazraoui on the right. I like that. But let me know in the chat, what is your back three? What is your preferred back three when everyone is fit? Put it in the chat. Because I know a lot of people are big fans of Mazraoui. It's just, like I said, to see him return is very, very important for us. But there's another player that I do want to talk about in that back line, and obviously I've mentioned him before, Martinez. So the news actually came out a couple of days ago about Martinez's return. But Martinez is set to return to training this week. He might already be back in training today. We don't know. But he's set to return to training this week with hopes to return to play in either the Nottingham Forest game or the Brighton game. Now, again, another big player to return to the United team. In my opinion, look, the way I look at Martinez returning for us, it almost feels like a new signing. Like, it feels like we need another centre-back just to kind of cover or rotate in and out the team because we have so many injuries. And to be fair, we've got quite a few injury-prone players. I mean, Luke Shaw, definitely injury-prone. Mazraoui's had a couple of injuries, Lenny Yoro's had a couple of injuries, and obviously Martinez as well. So we kind of need as many players as we can to kind of rotate in and out the team. So for me, Martinez returning, it almost feels like it's a whole new signing because there's certain things with Martinez that I feel like we don't have those qualities in other players. First of all, left-footed. It's so important to have a left-footed player on in that left centre-back position. Yes, we have Luke Shaw there right now, but to me, Martinez, his qualities when it comes to breaking the lines, when it comes to passing in behind, I mean, we've seen it countless times. His passing range is absolutely top tier. Martinez, to me, he is at his best, and I hate using that term because you only say that about players who are not always at their best. But at his best, when he's fully in form, he's one of the best passing centre-backs in the league. And I'll stand on that all day. Martinez, at his best, is one of the best ball-playing, passing centre-backs in the league. But we just need to see him at his best all the time. And for me, on top of that as well, I mean, look, I remember, I think it was either last season or the season before that. It was probably the season before that, actually, because last season we were horrible. The season before that, maybe even the season before that, but there was a game against Man City, and we were coming up against Haaland. And I remember everyone saying Martinez is going to get bullied. I mean, Haaland's like double his height, let's be honest. Super fast, most athletic player on the pitch. How is Martinez going to cope? You know, there's always been talks about Martinez's height and is he strong enough for the Premier League and can he handle it? And I remember that game and I watched Martinez absolutely keep Haaland quiet for the whole game. And I thought, you know what? He can do it. He can do it. I've seen it. If he can do it against Haaland, he can do it against anyone because nobody else is giving him that much trouble in the Premier League, let's be honest. There are other good strikers, but if you can do it against Haaland, if you can physically be able to keep a player of that stature, that physique quiet, then you can do it against anyone. So for me, Martinez has the qualities that we need as a centre-back. I mean, look, him and Varane were easily our best centre-back partnership in the past. What? I mean, since Fergie left, let's be honest. Since Fergie retired, have we had a better centre-back partnership than Martinez and Varane? That, to me, it gave us everything we needed. So, look, in saying all of that, I really want to see Martinez back into this team. I want to see how he kind of gels back into this 3-4-3 formation and obviously gets a few minutes here and there. We don't want to rush him back in the team because the last thing we want is for him to kind of have a repeat injury. He's had it before. But I really want to see him get back in the team. And one thing I actually want to say about Martinez is bringing up his injury record. Now, I don't know if we can bring it on the screen, but Martinez, I feel like there's a difference between an injury-prone player and a player who just gets injured. And I know that sounds like, what are you talking about? But there's certain players that it's just unfortunate. You know, they end up in situations where they might have a bad challenge and they get injured, or you know, they might have just landed in a very awkward way, which they never usually do, but it just happened in that one game and they have another long-term injury, but they're not necessarily injury prone. Now for me, I look at Martinez and I look at the injuries that he's had. They've been bad injuries in the sense of they've been during games and it's been kind of unfortunate. You know, you look at the Crystal Palace one where I think that's the last one, to be fair, the ligament injury that he had. It was just a really bad incident that happened on the pitch. I remember the Sevilla one. I don't know if you guys remember in the Europa League where he fractured his foot. I'm pretty sure he fractured his foot. And then he got rushed back, and then it happened again, and it almost felt like it seemed unlucky with his injuries. I mean, looking on the screen, you look at some of his injuries that he's had, the main ones have kind of just been during games, and they've just been like really unfortunate incidences. Now, that doesn't mean he's not completely injury prone, because the fact that he's had multiple ones now means that they can always come back. So there is that chance that he will also get injured again. But I also look at them, I just think, if those incidents never happened, he would have never really had these big injuries. Now, let's look at a real injury-prone player. Not to single him out, but now let's look at someone like Luke Shaw, yeah? Luke Shaw, good player. You know, I'm not going to say anything negative about his footballing ability, but when it comes to injuries, I mean, I don't know if you can see it there. There's 2 pages. Luke Shaw has 2 pages when it comes to the amount of injuries that he's had, and obviously the majority of them have been at United. Now, to me, this is what you call an injury-prone player. This is a player who, I mean, just looking at the different kinds of injuries, muscle injuries, thigh problems, knee injury, calf injury, leg injury. I mean, he had coronavirus. Like he's had every type of injury. I mean, it looks like on here, he's had every kind of injury: head injury, hamstring injury, ankle injury. He was ill. And an unknown injury. That to me is an injury-prone player. So for when people try to say to me, oh, but how can you play Martinez over Luke Shaw when he's injury-prone? I say, look, there's levels of what injury-prone really means. Martinez, yeah, you can say he's injury-prone, but Luke Shaw is a definition of what an injury-prone player is. Every part of his body has been injured. Like literally every part of his body has been injured. That to me kind of shows, okay, this is a player that you have to almost wrap in cotton wool when he's not playing, because even in training, I mean, I remember last season, he was injured pretty much throughout the whole season. He came back just near the end of the season, I think. Yeah, he did actually. He came back near the end of the season, kind of played the final for the Europa League and a few games before that as well. And then got injured straight away. Got injured pretty much straight away after the season ended over summer. So that to me is the player that, like, even whether it's in the game, whether it's out of the game, whether it's international duty, whether it's in training, there's always a chance of an injury with that kind of injury-prone player. Similar to Mount as well, another player who, it's not just in-game injuries. He could just get injured walking to the shop. You know what I mean? He could just twist his ankle and all of a sudden he's out for 2 weeks. You know, that's the kind of injury-prone player that I'm talking about. But look, I think, back to the whole Martinez thing, for me, I really want to see him come back into the team. But like I said, let me know in the chat, what is your preferred back three? Now, I'm going to touch on a couple plugs that I really want to bring in. So, look, we already know what's happening on the weekend, the Liverpool game. It's a huge game. But listen, on Friday, the Premier League is back, but also Bundesliga is back. Now, if you don't know about That's Football is a channel about all kinds of football, all different leagues, Champions League football, there's watch-alongs, all that kind of things. But the main thing that's going to be happening on Friday is there is a live game. Not a live watch-along, a live game. As in, you can watch the actual football players on the pitch play football, and Mark will be obviously like reacting and doing his watch-along at the same time. So the game actually starts about 7:30, but the watch-along is from 7:15. So do not miss out on that game. The Bundesliga is also back, as well as the Premier League, and there will be a live game on That's Football, and Mark will be doing a watch along at the same time as the game. So it's a bit like how can you show a live game on YouTube? Does it really make sense? Just go out there and watch it and you'll understand. You'll understand what I'm talking about. And it's a very interesting game as well. If you know anything about Bundesliga football, it's a very, very interesting game. So make sure you check that out. But also there will be games on the weekend. Watch-alongs. Obviously, the Liverpool United game, the biggest game of the week, one of the biggest games of the season. We're going to touch on that in a second as well. But there will be a watch-along for that on the weekend as well. So make sure you are staying tuned for that. But look, let's actually talk about this Liverpool game, because this is what I really wanted to speak on, because there's so much conversation around this game and what is the impact of United winning / potentially losing this game. I really want to win. I really, really want to win, because I feel like this season we need this kind of win. We've not had a win that's kind of, we've not had a game where it's almost felt like we've won it and it's been almost in the sense of like our backs have been against the wall and it's like a huge win. The games that we've won this season, it's almost felt like, I mean, we beat Burnley in a 97th minute penalty, you know what I mean? We beat Sunderland. It kind of just felt like that kind of win. The Chelsea game almost felt like we could have lost. It was down to 10 men. Both teams got red cards. A very messy game. I really want to see just a strong, confident win against a big rival, against Liverpool. That will genuinely change my whole feeling around United this season. There's a super chat in here, like I said before. Make sure you send in your super chats so I can read them out and we can get to them. So the super chat from Tom McBride says, it started when Hector Marino snapped his leg. What do you mean? What? Oh, Luke Shaw, yeah. I was thinking, Hector Marino, that name sounds familiar. And I remember, it was like the Champions League. I remember it was a European game. It was Mourinho days, actually, I think. And yeah, that was such a bad injury. That was a bad one. That one, I remember watching that game and thinking, I don't know if he's going to come back from this, because I remember you could see the slow-mo and you could see like his I don't even want to think about it, because I think about it now, it's giving like, like chills. But I remember just watching it and thinking, that's a tough injury to come back from. But that was kind of the start of Luke Shaw's injury problems, and he's just never really stopped from there, has it? But yeah, going back to the Liverpool game. Now I really want to discuss. Let me know in the chat, what are the impacts of United winning this game? Does that change anyone's minds on Amorim? Does it change anyone's minds on the whole system conversation? Does it change anyone's minds on how United have been this season? Because for me, the way I look at it is, one, we still need to win back-to-back games. And I know a lot of people are saying, yes, this is the perfect game to win back-to-back games, but I almost just feel like that's just embarrassing. Like the fact that we're celebrating winning back-to-back games, I actually feel embarrassed. Like the fact that we literally sat there thinking and talking about, yes, let's get these back-to-back games against Liverpool. Why is that even an achievement? Like, beating Liverpool is an achievement. That's great. Liverpool, the current champions, one of the best teams in the league, one of the best teams in the world, multiple world-class players in their team. To beat that team is an achievement. At Anfield is even more of an achievement, actually. That's a huge achievement. But to be excited because we won 2 games in a row almost just feels like, wow, like our standards are really dropped into the bin. But at the same time, if we do win this game, it almost does bring back a little bit of momentum. It almost makes us feel like, you know what, maybe there is something positive that is going on right now. Maybe there is something that we are building on. It might not look it on the pitch every single game, but maybe there is something that is clicking. And this Liverpool game could be that trigger. I remember, I think it was Ten Hag's first season, and in fact, it was a Liverpool game again in Ten Hag's first season. I remember Sancho scored in that game, and the start of the season was very, very poor. I mean, the first 2 games we played, we lost, and it almost felt like, okay, this is looking bad. And then we played Liverpool, and we won, I think, 3-1 or 2-1. And everything kind of switched, and we just automatically started playing better football, and we started getting more results, and things kind of started to change. I don't know, but this could be that kind of game. This could be that game where we actually go out there, we play a very good game, similar to the Arsenal game at the start of the season, the first game where we actually play good football. We take it to them. We don't just sit back and let them, just absolutely dominate us the whole game and just kind of hope for a draw. But we actually take the game to Liverpool. We recognise that, look, Liverpool are in a bit of a down spell. They're not a bad team, but form-wise, they're definitely not in the greatest form. I mean, they lost to Crystal Palace, lost in the Champions League to Galatasaray. They're not in the best situation right now. They're probably going to be thinking this is the perfect game for them to kind of bounce back and bring some kind of momentum back. We can not only silence them and almost put them in the mud, because that's what we want to do as United fans, we can also bring back some momentum for ourselves. We can bring a little bit more momentum for the players, for the manager, for the fan base. I mean, when was the last time that everyone was kind of just excited, really excited for United going into the next game? And I feel like if we can beat Liverpool, every single game after that almost feels like, yes, like we're ready now. We're United. Let me not say we're back, because we're not Premier League title contending team yet, but it kind of gives us that hope. It gives us that little bit of good feeling going into the Brighton game, going into the Forest game, where it's like, we just beat Liverpool and we actually played well. Let's continue this kind of feeling going forward into the rest of the season. So I think winning that game could have a huge impact, across the board. Like I said, manager, player, fan base, it could have a huge impact. However, I almost feel like as well, if we lose that game, it's going to feel like a throwaway. And what I mean by that is, we already know what everyone's going to say. Yeah, but we lost because it's Liverpool. Like, yeah, we lost, but we were going to lose anyway. It's Liverpool. They're the champions. That's what we already know. That's what the narrative's going to be. Oh, it's Liverpool, so you can't really take that into consideration. For me, I hear it. I understand it. Yes, it is Liverpool, but at the same time, we should also look at each game and try to at least take some kind of positive from it. But I know what I have conversations about Amorim genuinely every single day. Not because I want to, because that's all people ask me about. That is all whenever anyone sees me walking down the street or whatever I'm doing, the only thing, and I'm being honest, the only thing that anyone ever asks me is, what's your thoughts on Amorim? Is it Amorim in? Is it Amorim out? Or, is he doing a good job? Do you think he's going to do this? How long do you think he's got left? Whatever. That's all people ever ask me. I wonder why. I don't know why. The reason why I'm saying that is a lot of the excuses that people give, and I call it excuses, but a lot of the reasons that people give when they are Amorim in is they almost kind of say, oh, but this game was a bit unlucky, the Arsenal game was unlucky, and let's not talk about the Grimsby game, I should pretend that didn't happen, the Chelsea game was this, but look at the Sunderland game, look at XG. It almost just feels like a lot of excuses and trying to justify losses. No one ever kind of gives me any concrete, hard facts or evidence to say, you know what, this is working to the best that it could possibly work at, and that's why we're gonna, go forward and eventually, continue to win more games. No one really ever gives me any real solid reasons for it. And that's why I feel like if we were to lose against Liverpool, it would just be a similar kind of thing. It would just be like another excuse, like, oh, but it's Liverpool. Like, yeah, it's fine. We'll see against Brighton. Let's see what happens against Brighton, and then we can actually talk. And yeah, I feel like that's what's going to happen if we do lose. And I don't feel like people are really going to put any real pressure on Amorim to actually go and win this game. But I feel like it should be a game that we should be trying our hardest to go and win. But anyway, look, moving on from the Liverpool game, like I said, it's going to be a very interesting game. There will be a watch-along on Sunday, but there will also be a build-up show. I don't know who's actually on there. I know I'm on it. I know Beth's on it. Is Ricky on the watch-along? It's just me and Beth. We'll see. There might be another guest on there, and obviously Collins as well. So basically, stay in tune for the build-up show for that, and obviously the fans forum after the game as well. But moving on, I really want to touch on a couple players. Now, there's been a lot of conversation about the midfield for United. And there's actually been some random rumours. I don't even want to really touch on it because it almost just feels like he say, she say, Chinese whispers. With some comments about Amorim and Ugarte. I don't really like to entertain them kind of things because it just almost feels like somebody just made it up. You know what I mean? Until someone actually comes out with some evidence that actually was said, that somebody said something crazy in the changing room, I don't really want to touch on it. But you guys probably know what I'm talking about anyway. But the midfield against Liverpool, and we are going to touch a bit on the Liverpool game a little bit more, but I think that's a very interesting conversation now because, one, Casemiro has played a lot of international football. Casemiro has played 2 full 90-minute games. I don't think he's played a full 90-minute game for United this season. Casemiro hasn't played a full 90-minute game. In fact, Casemiro doesn't even play every single game. Sometimes he's on the bench. Sometimes Ugarte starts. I think Mainoo started a couple of games as well. Obviously, Bruno starts every game. But the fact that Casemiro has played 2 full 90-minute games in international break, I'm not too sure that he's going to start against Liverpool because for a player like Casemiro, you do really want to regulate his minutes because the last thing you want is for him, in my opinion, in that midfield, he's the one player that I can say, you know what, you've actually done your job. You've done a pretty decent job. You've done what you can do. And there isn't much fault for me to actually put on Casemiro this season so far compared to everybody else. But the fact that he's played a lot of football over the last week, for the international break, I have a strong feeling that Amorim might think, you know what, let's not put him straight into this intense game against Liverpool. Even though he's been a very good player for us, it's a lot of football he's been playing. So the conversation now opens up to who starts in that midfield? Who starts for us against Liverpool in that midfield? Now, obviously, Bruno Fernandes is kind of the first name that everyone's going to say, which, I mean, let's be honest, it is going to be Bruno Fernandes. But next to him, who do you put into that team? Is it Mainoo? Is it Ugarte? Who is the other midfielder that you would say would start in that team? Let's run a poll on that. Who are you guys starting in that midfield next to Bruno? Let's be honest, it is going to be Bruno starting. Now, I mean, look, for me, I'm going to try and be very, very positive here. I'm going to try and be very positive because I don't feel like doing a negative thing today. Sometimes I like being negative. I can't lie. Sometimes I like not being negative, but sometimes I like just constructive criticism. That's what I'm going to call it. I like being constructive about players. But for me, when it comes to Ugarte, and that's a player that I've been very critical of, especially this season, I feel like Ugarte, especially against was it Brentford or Sunderland? I think it was a Brentford game. I feel like he was kind of used as a bit of a scapegoat because, in my opinion, I don't think he actually had a bad game. And I think he actually did what he needed to do. He was obviously brought off at one point. But I feel like because he's had such a difficult start to the season, a lot of people just look at him and think, oh, he must have had a bad game. It was Ugarte, he must have had a bad game. In my opinion, I don't actually think he had a bad game at all, in general. So for me, I wouldn't mind seeing Ugarte play if, and it's a big if him and Bruno have some kind of positive energy, or not positive energy, like a positive chemistry similar to what they had against Brentford. Because in my opinion, that actually worked for a period of the game. For a period of that game, Ugarte was actually playing well. And he was actually doing his job. He was actually moving the ball a bit quicker. He was, getting into good positions, wasn't getting caught out. I think it was one point where he lost the ball and I thought, oh, no, it's Ugarte, no. But eventually, I think he actually warmed up into the game a little bit more as well, going later on into the second half. So for me, being positive with Ugarte, I feel like if I was to see him start, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to say I'm 100% happy with it, but I've actually seen signs that Ugarte can play. And like I said, if he did replicate how he played in that Brentford game, I wouldn't be too mad about it. I wouldn't be too mad. However, let's be honest, you guys know, you guys call me Player FC all the time. I want to see Mainoo. You guys say it to me all the time, why Mainoo, you just love him, whatever. I am Player FC, and I actually hold my hands up all the time and say, I don't mind being Player FC. In fact, I want to clip this up actually because this is something I actually want to talk on because people say to me all the time, how can we play FC, but trying to get away from that, whatever. Look, to me, Player FC is just having a favourite player. I have favourite players at my club that I enjoy watching. I like United. I like watching Manchester United play. There are players that I like watching more than other players. Call it Player FC all you want. That to me is just what football's about. Everyone grew up having players that they prefer to watch over other players. It's just called having a favourite player. So when people say to me, oh, why do you want to see Mainoo play so much? Blah, blah, blah. Look, he's one of my favourite players. Same with Amad Diallo. I get called Player FC for him all the time. He's just one of my favourite players. I don't know what else to tell you. I just like watching those footballers play. Now, I do think, again, those players have had difficult starts to the season. I mean, Mainoo's barely been able to even play as much as he wanted to, as much as he wanted or like to play the season. But I feel like the last few games, both of those players have actually had all right games. I think Amad Diallo, the last couple of games, has actually been pretty decent as well. And I think he's actually warmed up into playing as a wing back with Mbeumo next to him. I think that was a bit of a trial, a bit of an experiment to see if those two players could actually gel. But I feel like of recent games, they've actually been able to work very well together. And it's just about that final end product. Can we see that work? So for me, I want to see Mainoo play. I want to see Mainoo start against Liverpool. And there's no such thing, in my opinion, as a big game for Kobbie Mainoo. There is no such thing. No one can say to me, oh, but he's young. There's a lot of pressure. He's only 20 years old. Can he? He can, because we've seen it. We've seen it international level. We've seen it club level. We saw it when he first came into the team. We saw it in the cup finals. We saw it in FA Cup quarterfinals. We've seen it against City. We've seen it against loads of big teams. Kobbie Mainoo steps up when it's time to step up. Not a lot of players can say that. Let me know in the chat if how many players you can say really step up when it's time to step up. To me, Kobbie Mainoo is one of those players that when it's time to play, when it's time to really show up in these huge moments, whether it's getting a big goal, whether it's just having a good game in general, Kobbie Mainoo steps up. So for me, I want to see him play in that game, not just because talent-wise, he's an amazing player, and he is actually probably what we need in those kind of games, someone who can actually just hold on to the ball and not give it away quickly to Liverpool, who are going to try to keep the ball as much as they can. But also, I feel like he's got something in him where when the moment is there, when we need someone to actually put away that chance, and it doesn't come often because he doesn't play that often, but it doesn't always drop to him. But when it does drop to him, when it is that time for someone to actually just put the ball in the back of the net, Kobbie Mainoo has shown that he can do that. So that's why for me, I want to see him play. I want to see him start. But yeah, another super chat in here. There's from Tom McBride again, says start Casemiro, but bring him off when he gets the yellow, even if it's in the first half. I don't care. You know what? That's actually a pretty good super chat. I like that super chat because let's be honest, he's gonna get a yellow. He's gonna get a yellow. And you know what? One thing about Casemiro that I give it to him is that he does put himself out there when it comes to. He never shies away from a challenge. That's how I'll put it. That's the best way I can put it, to be fair. Casemiro never shies away from going to ground, from a slide tackle, from whatever. And yes, it does lead to a lot of yellows, and it really does hinder us a lot of times. I mean, I saw a stat recently that said Casemiro has had 60 yellow cards in his career. 60. I know, yes, he's played for a long time, but 60 yellow cards is crazy. I think he's had 20 yellow cards for United alone. 20 yellow cards. This is a player that's been here for, 4 seasons now? I think he's been here for about 4 seasons. About 4 seasons. Maybe like 3/4. 20 yellow cards is a lot. I don't care what anyone says. That is a lot of yellow cards. That's like 4 or 5 a season. But it's because he never shies away from it. He never thinks to himself, oh, this isn't the right moment to go for a challenge. No, he's always in it. He's always thinking, if it's me versus you, I'm going for it. I'm going for it no matter what. And I like that about him, but like I said, it does really hinder us sometimes. So you know what, Tom McBride, you are right. Bring him off when he gets that yellow, because we can't have, I mean, look, 2 red cards in 3 games? We can't have that. Who did that last season? Was it Bruno? I think it was Bruno who had like 2 red cards in like 2 or 3 games, at the span of 2 or 3 games. And it was like, was it Bruno last season or was it the season before that? I can't remember. But yeah, we can't have that. We can't have that. But yeah, good super chat. I agree. Take him off when they get that yellow card. Super chat from Jimmy Jack says, why is it when we win, it's invalid, like red card, newly promoted team, etc. But other teams win those games and they can celebrate, and us fans buy it? That's actually an interesting super chat. Why is it when we win, it's invalid, like a red card, newly promoted team, etc. But other teams, when they win those games, they can celebrate? You know what I'll say to that? I understand where you're coming from, but for us, it's because they're the only games we've won. Like I would understand the point you're coming from if we had won loads of other games that weren't against newly promoted teams, or they weren't against relegated teams, or they weren't against 10 men. If we had won multiple games that didn't fit into that category, I'd understand your point. But it's the fact that they're the only games we win. And when they're the only games you win, you kind of have to look at it and think, well, why are those teams? Why are they the only teams that we can beat? Why can we only beat Burnley, Sunderland, Leicester last season, Ipswich last season, Southampton last season, a 10-men Chelsea, a 10-men Aston Villa? Why are they the only teams that we can somehow manage to have good games against? You know what I mean? That's where the problem is. Yeah, and I do understand the point you're making because, let's be honest, people always look at United and they try to find a way to make our wins seem less than what they actually are. That is something that not just opposite fans do, but United fans do it as well. I do it sometimes. I'll be honest. Like sometimes I look at games and I'm very, very critical on the game. But that's just because I want to see United just be better. I want to see us actually play good games against good teams. That's all I want. I want to see United have a good game against a good team and win without any stipulations, 10 men here, this team get relegated. I just want to see us have a good game against a good team. And yeah, that's my response to that. But I do understand what you're talking about. But okay, he just sent a super chat saying, okay, well, that's fair. But yeah, that's kind of, yeah. We have beat teams like City last season, it was a good game. We did play well. We did obviously end up winning because of that last Ahmad winner. It kind of felt like, you know what, it was a very, very good moment, a very sweet moment. But I think the reason why not a lot of people speak about that game is because we never really went on to kind of build off it. We kind of won that game and it kind of just felt like it was a one-off. And then straight away, you know, it kind of went downhill from there. So I feel like a lot of people look at that game and think, yeah, great result, but it doesn't really tell the full story of United last season. But yeah, I mean, look, moving on quickly. I mean, it's been a very show's actually gone very quickly. The last thing I really want to touch on is Mount and Cunha. These are two players that I really want to talk about quickly. Now, the reason why I want to touch on Mount and Cunha, now let me know in the chat, who would you start out of the two? This is a conversation that I've been having a lot with a lot of United fans, and I really want to bring this into the show because I want to know what you guys think. Because a lot of people, there's one side of people of the United fan base that say Cunha, last season, one of the best attacking players in the Premier League. Cunha, for United, £62 million signing. He is one of our main signings this season. He was brought in to start. He wasn't brought in to be a rotational player, to sit on the bench. He was brought in to make an impact in this team. From what we've seen already, yes, he hasn't, in my opinion, reached his full potential yet. But there's been a lot of great signs from Cunha as well, especially when it comes to driving with the ball, when it comes to his work rate, his ethic. He gets back very, very well. He's got that. I'm gonna call it the South American energy. You know like how a lot of South Americans have that kind of that fierceness in them when they're playing football. They almost, you don't really want to go near them. You don't really want to have a 50-50 with them because they're gonna win it. You know what I mean? He's got that energy in him. So there has been positives when it comes to Cunha's game, but at the same time, you can't discredit the fact that Mount has been probably our best player this season, or one of anyway, our best players this season. At the start of the season, he was one of the reasons why we even managed to get some results. The Burnley game, even though we got injured in that game, the reason why we actually played well initially was because of Mount. And even when he came back from injury, again, he's been one of our better players. So it almost feels like where do you go? Do you kind of go with the whole fact of we're supposed to play Cunha, or do you go with the argument of we should play Mount? And that's kind of the argument I've been having it with so many United fans, because I feel like everyone is so split with those two players. And I guess it is almost like a win-win situation, because starting Cunha is not a problem at all. And I don't think anyone would look at that and say, oh, why are we starting Cunha? That is definitely not that kind of situation. And the same with Mount. No one would look at Mount starting and saying, oh, why are we starting Mount? Both players are good enough to start for us, and both of them have shown, like I said, positive signs this season. But the conversation is, who do you really want to start? Who do you want to start in a big game against Liverpool? Who do you want to see on that start at 11? Let me know in the chat, because, like I said, for me, it's kind of like, I don't really know. Like I said, I'm not gonna sit on the fence for this one. if you were to say to me, who am I starting in that left-sided 10 position, I'm gonna say Mason Mount. And I might change my mind. You know what? I don't care. You know what? I change my mind all the time, so I'm allowed to say that. I change my mind all the time, and I'm happy about doing that. I might, when it comes to Liverpool build-up show, I might say Cunha. But it's hard for me to say no to Mason Mount from what he's done so far. It's hard for me to say, you know what? We shouldn't be playing genuinely one of our best players so far this season. It doesn't even make sense if you think about it. But I can also completely understand why you'd want to start Cunha, because it's you know, it's a bit of a toss-up. I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you think in the chat. There's so many different people that are saying a lot of Cunhas, a lot of Mounts. Obviously, a lot of, you know, Mount first half, Cunha second half. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of. I'm gonna to ramp the show. I'm gonna go off. There's still a lot of votes. Let's get to 500 votes. Get to 500 votes, and I'll go to the poll. But yeah, let me know, because it's one of the two. I think Mbeumo kind of, you know, he has his position kind of secured. He is, you know, arguably one of our best signings in the past few years. Let's be honest. He kind of walks into that team. So I'm going to leave Mbeumo kind of just. He has his own conversation with himself. You know, no one's really competing with him there. It is really just that left-sided 10 position who starts out of those two players. But I think there is someone just put in a chat here, which I think is interesting. Chat, Sesko Lover says favouritism. Mount and Bruno and Dalot will always start, which I think is interesting, because let's be honest, Amorim does have his favourites. We all know that. It's not really. As we're all United fans, we know that Amorim wants to play. He wants Dalot to start. He wants Bruno to play well. He wants Mount. He speaks so highly of Mount. He loves him. We know who he wants to start. But sometimes it's just about who is the right player to start for each game. There has been over 500 votes. Who would you start, Mount or Cunha? 56% say Cunha and 44% say Mount. To me, I'm looking at that as 50-50. That is very. I know Cunha does win, so you know what, fair enough. The majority of people do say Cunha. I think it's 57% now, actually. About 56. So yeah, majority of people do say Cunha, but the fact that there's 44% that do say Mount means that there's a large proportion of you guys that do also think that Mount should start. So yeah, let's see what Amorim does. Let's see what Amorim does on the weekend. It's going to be a very interesting game. But look, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sweating right now. I don't know if you can tell, but it's been a great show interacting with you guys. And look, Beth tomorrow, she's got a 2 p.m. show with Ben Jacobs. That is always a great show, because Ben Jacobs just brings the hardcore facts. He just brings straight knowledge, straight transfer knowledge. You guys love those kind of shows, so make sure you tune in 2 p.m. tomorrow. Beth will be here with Ben Jacobs, and he's going to give all the lowdown with all the transfer news and any other interesting things that have been coming out. So make sure you tune in on United Stand for that. And like I said, thank you guys for watching and listening. I'll be back on the weekend for the Liverpool game. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.